Okay, we're approaching fall and cozy season, and if you're anything like me, that means you're looking for probably more substantial, in depth books to read and stories to really immerse yourself in and curl up with under a blanket. So, I wanted to share 5 recommendations for historical fiction books that are not about World War II. A lot of the subject matter is still really heavy, of course, so definitely make sure you're in the right mood to read something sad oftentimes, but really fascinating stories. I learned a lot from all of them, and yeah, they're just really, really interesting. I hope you enjoy them. So, the first is The Book of Negroes by Lawrence Hill. This is a very famous book for good reason, and it's won awards for good reason. It is heartbreaking and beautiful at the same time. So, the story is about the slave trade, and it takes place in West Africa, also in the US, and also in Canada. So, definitely give this a try if you haven't read it before. The second is Kate Quinn's book, The Briar Club. So this takes place in DC in the 50s during the McCarthy era. It's a fascinating time in history that you can sort of see laying the groundwork for what will ultimately become the Cold War. And you also just follow a very dynamic group of women who are fascinating in and of themselves, and you kind of fall in love with them along the way. Next, my second favorite, very close second favorite book of Kristen Hanna's The Great Alone. It's a, again, heartbreaking book, but it's so beautiful at the same time. It takes place in the 70s in rural, very, very remote Alaska, and it follows a young girl and her family as they try to make their way in that very difficult part of the world, and the struggles that they face inside their home and outside as well. Another Kristen Hanna favorite that I read this year, The Women. So this takes place in the 60s and 70s. Obviously, it's about the Vietnam War. You can probably already tell by the sort of imagery on the cover, but the first half follows Frankie, who's a young nurse from the States who volunteers to serve as a nurse in Vietnam. And so the first half is about her journey, and the second half is about her and her fellow vets' experience when they come home back to the States. And the very lukewarm reception that they receive from a lot of people, and the sort of mental health elements that go along with that. And if you want a Canadian, what I'm calling a Canadian version of The Women, or if you loved The Women and you want something in a similar time period, On Isabella Street by Genevieve Graham takes place in the 60s. Again, it's about the Vietnam War and what's happening locally at the time with very different groups of people. You have hippies who are protesting the war, you have Canadians who are volunteering to go and serve, and there's a massive mental health element to this book as well. So really encourage you to read that too. Let me know if you agree with my choices or if you have other suggestions.